Hello to the bots watching this video, and some humans too, I guess. Today I'm going over how I designed this portable USB-C powered electrolysis cell. It splits water into hydrogen and oxygen to inflate balloons or for small blimp projects. Or you could turn it back into water, I guess. Just make sure you do it under adult supervision. If you are an adult, make sure to get another adult to supervise you just in case. I designed it around storage because most of the time you're just topping off a balloon or giving a small demo. So this design always ensures that you have instant hydrogen for those situations. It's also very flexible because you only need to change a single tube if you want HHO or separate hydrogen and oxygen outputs. I designed it to be as convenient as possible, which to me meant that I needed to run it off a phone charger or lab bench power supply. Connecting balloons needed to be quick, and the generation cycle needed to be completely automated, which meant like turning it off when the storage balloon is at pressure and on again when you remove some of the hydrogen. Oh, and I'd prefer that the sodium hydroxide electrolyte stay in the cell and not on my hands. Anyway, add over, what are the caveats? First, know that we can only get 36 watts max from the USB-C, so the cell isn't breaking any speed records. You can get more power from a lab bench power supply, of course, but in general, lower speed is better because more power leads to faster degradation and more evaporated water in the output. That, and it wastes most of that power as heat. I originally designed the cell for on-demand hydrogen generation, but that just incentivizes degenerate generation, so storage is a better route. I'm thinking that I'll program the cell to run at 100% for the first 5 minutes after reset, as sort of like a demo period, but after that I'll assume that you're in it for the long haul and I'll throttle down to a more efficient speed around 2 to 3 volts on the cell. Another big thing to mention is that I'm using sodium hydroxide as the electrolyte, which is a strong base. You'll find sodium hydroxide in hardware stores as sold as like lye or drain cleaner, so it's not some exotic chemical, but it's not something you want on your hands. It didn't stop me from dousing myself in it multiple times during the design process though. Just make sure to wear the included gloves while opening the cell. Sodium hydroxide isn't consumed, so you just need to top off the water every once in a while and you can continue generating. Last thing I want to add is that I'm using nickel for both electrodes, which handles the sodium hydroxide very well. I've never had to replace the nickel electrodes in any of my cells, and right now the epoxy seals seem to be the limiting factor in terms of longevity. I'm currently testing different thermal and marine epoxies to see which ones perform the best, and hopefully this cell can outlive me, which hopefully should be difficult to do. So why am I doing all this? I started building these cells around 2021 when I was still in high school, and I used graphite electrodes and salt water. I got a little more serious when I used iron transformer plates and actually separated the gases. I was able to get a vegetable bag to float, but I moved on to other projects. That was until I saw a video by the creator Hyperspace Pirate on YouTube, which inspired my newer cell designs. I did change a few things, like I tried to use titanium plates, which failed miserably due to oxidation buildup. I had to rebuild the cell multiple times because the sodium hydroxide really likes to break down the plastic containers. Most of them were a little cobbled together, but I was having a good time. Oh my gosh. Is anything blowing up? That is so fast. What the heck? I don't know if you can see that on camera. Those bubbles are flying up there. Wow, bubbles. Can you ask for better entertainment? Another thing I learned was never to use stranded copper wire because sodium hydroxide will travel up it like a pipe and corrode the whole wire. I'm currently on the 6th rebuild, I think, of this cell. I've switched to all glass, and I use 100mm nickel electrodes that are continuous. So they're bent around to make the shape of the electrodes, and there aren't any bolts or spot welds under the waterline. Seriously, nothing below the waterline is safe. I used heat shrink tubing over the leads and epoxy-coated ABS parts, which seemed to be the only thing that could survive the evil water. The hydrogen output is very pure, but it's like $150 in glass alone, and it holds like 4 gallons of corrosive liquid, so obviously it's not very practical for the average hobbyist. I was working on my tile project back then when I re-entered this rabbit hole, and I was looking for a way to make a floating AI assistant. That project's for another video, but I needed to make it silent, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to re-explore the electrolysis cells. I guess launching this cell serves a dual purpose of helping me learn how to sell something and possibly make AI floating assistants less of an absurd idea, if that's possible. Anyway, that was the mission, to make electrolysis cells safer and more accessible to the everyday person. Easy. I just have to make this into this. Probably just ask ChatGPT or something. Well, when I couldn't prompt one into existence, I had to actually go out and build a few cells, and a few more after that. I knew that HDPE bottles survived the sodium hydroxide solution, and I thought I was slick by integrating everything into the lid, so the same design works on multiple bottle sizes. The first 12-ounce cells I built were for on-demand hydrogen generation. The solenoid was just there for sealing the cell when it was off, and the pump was the actual active part that removed hydrogen when the water level got too high. The same way my larger cell was made, actually. I used an inner ABS part to adapt the silicon separating tube, and I used these Bowden tube inserts to seal the output tubes. That worked fine, but I really struggled to properly detect the water level. I'm supposed to be an electrical engineer, but I think I tried every way to not detect the water level properly. The most annoying issue with the old cell design was the active pump, because it was very easy to pump the danger water out of the cell. I was struggling to figure out if the issue was with my sensor, the firmware, or the sodium hydroxide I was constantly spilling on everything. This was frustrating, as you can imagine, and I killed a lot of MOSFETs and microcontrollers doing this. I tried different resistor values for the sensor lead, but the conductive water connects everything in the cell together with high impedance, so that just made everything more difficult. The water level also doesn't act like a resistor until current is flowing through it. That was the main thing I was missing, well, that and the crucial fact that I'm switching the cathode and leaving the anode always connected. That means that when the cell is off, 12 volts just shows up in the sense lead and any other metal parts of the cell. So this was leaking to the microcontroller. I also didn't have flyback diodes in the solenoid or pump, which just added to the list of things that made this harder. But I'm stubborn, and I rebuilt the cells until I eventually landed on this design. The sense pin needed flowing current to detect the water level, but it also had to be protected from 12 volts. A diode and a small value resistor seemed to do the job. I briefly toggle a pin high to try to pull the pin to 5 volts. This is to limit the electrolysis that happens on the pin when sensing. If the water is too high, it causes current to flow between the sense pin and the cathode. This forces the pin to 0 volts and provides a reliable and repeatable detection method for when I need to turn on the solenoid. The solenoid setup is overall much safer and quieter, plus it lets me repurpose the pump to allow you to draw from storage. The current design relies on pressure to pump the hydrogen out, and then I open the solenoid to release that oxygen pressure and reset the water line. Otherwise, we would start getting water out of the hydrogen side. I can detect a rough max pressure based on the time between sensor triggers. I just turn the cell off when the time between triggers hits a max value too many times. It's simple but effective. Other than that, the firmware is pretty simple. I'll include a link to the firmware in my Kickstarter. Anyway, that's all I have for now, and I'll leave you with this early time-lapse footage. Thanks for watching and in advance for your support.